Hello everybody, how's it going, and welcome back to another video. So today I wanted to talk specifically about the combat system in previous Assassin's Creed games, going through all of the games from AC1 to Syndicate, talking about the pros and cons of all of them, and then finally rounding it off by talking about the various things I'd like to see from previous Assassin's Creed games combat systems returning in Assassin's Creed Origins. We're so close to the reveal now, so there's not too much time left for speculation, but I thought, why not make this video? But in a couple of days, regardless, we're going to be seeing the combat system. We're going to be seeing the game. We're going to be seeing what it's like. So this is the last week for speculation on Assassin's Creed Origins, which is an insane thought to think about, but I am super excited. Remember, I am going to be streaming the events over on my channel when E3 goes live, so I'll watch it with you guys, and we can all join in and have a chat in the community, rather than maybe watching on our own kind of thing, so that'll be a good time. But without further ado, let's hop into today's video. So starting off with the first Assassin's Creed game, some of the things that worked really well were the combos in the game that aren't always an insta-kill. So when you do a combo, you'll do some damage to your enemy, you might knock them off balance and kind of thing, and they'll kind of be a little bit stunned and dazed, but they won't necessarily die straight away from your combo, and plus combos are not the easiest thing ever to do. If you don't know how combos work in Assassin's Creed 1, because I didn't even know they existed until a couple of years after the game came out, is you use the attack. When your sword makes contact with the enemy sword, you press attack again, and Altair should perform a combo move, either killing them instantly or knocking them off balance and stunning the enemy, depending on the enemy type, which is a really cool thing. So the combos are in the game, and it adds more to the gameplay, but it's not always an insta-kill if the guards may be a little bit harder. The counters also aren't always insta-kill. You can counter an enemy, and again, it'll just knock them off balance, or it'll just stop their attack so you're defending yourself, but it won't necessarily kill the enemy straight away. Lower guard archetypes will, of course, die pretty much instantly, but then you got the hardened knight characters, which are actually a lot difficult to counter, and when you counter them, you're just going to kind of do a little stun move kind of thing rather than killing them instantly. The enemies in the game can actually counter you and possibly throw you also. So when you do an attack to an enemy, they could possibly counter you and do an attack on you. They won't always, they'll never insta-kill you with their counters, but they will harm your health, knock you over, leave you open to multiple attacks. They can also grab Altair and throw him. You do unlock a counter throw move later on in the game, but again, it's something that they can do in the game that is useful for the enemy and makes it a little bit more challenging. Another thing is you have to change your strategies for enemies. Now, it's not like there's a heavy type and this type and some people you can't counter and stuff like that, but there are enemies where sometimes you have to change. They'll do this combo where they'll try and knock you off balance and attack you. If you try and counter that, it's not going to work and you're going to get badly hurt, but if you dodge that and then attack back, you can go for a counter attack that way. Some enemies can't be grabbed. Some enemies, when you counter, of course, that's not going to do a lot of damage and you're going to have to kind of go on the offensive. So sometimes you have to play defensive, sometimes you have to play offensive. It's very challenging in that sense, where you have to change up your playstyle depending on the enemy that you're fighting. Now, some of the cons for the Assassin's Creed 1 combat system include the hidden blade counters are an insta-kill. Now, I know they're hard to get because when they attack, like, it has to be exactly right. It's a very small window of opportunity for the countering with the hidden blade, whereas with the sword and dagger is a lot larger, but for the hidden blade, you know, it's a very kind of small section, so it is difficult to hit, but regardless, it is an insta-kill, and I don't think it's too overpowered, but of course, you know, having an insta-kill move in a combat system does kind of leave it flawed in a sense. Another thing is you've only got, like, 3 weapon types. You've got your hidden blade, your sword, and your dagger. Of course, you've got your fist, but you can't really use that in combat in Assassin's Creed 1, so I don't really count that. There's not even any variety of these weapons either, so you don't get loads of different kinds of swords, you just get a sword and a dagger. And they do change throughout the game, become better, but, like, you can't choose, like, what kind of weapon you want. Like, you have to kind of stick with the one that it's given you, which is incredibly kind of restricting. So Assassin's Creed 2, I honestly don't think is as good as Assassin's Creed 1 in terms of combat. I think that it's very similar in terms of the pros, being the counters aren't always insta-kill, enemies can counter you, etc. Hidden blades can now also be used in combat, however, as well as fists for disarming, which is really good. So the hidden blades, you know, as much as they're still an insta-kill when you do a counter, you can now use them in combat as well to do attacks and things like that, which just makes things a lot better, as well as fists can now be used in combat way more easily. And there's also a ton of other weapons to use in the game. You can go to the shop and you can get all these various swords and daggers and maces and things like that, and it just adds a whole new side to, you know, weapons you can use in the game. Now, as for the cons, I think the combo system in Assassin's Creed 2 is far more tedious than the first game. Rather than 2 consecutive attacks, so when your sword hits, you hit again combo, it doesn't work like that in Assassin's Creed 2. You have to do about 5 of those consecutively, and it's not even difficult. Like, it's not... In Assassin's Creed 1, it felt like you had to time this attack right, and boom, you've got a combo, whereas in Assassin's Creed 2, you just kind of hit them 5 times at the right point, and then they're dead. Like, it's not this hugely challenging system. It's just very kind of tedious to do. There's no heavy attacks either, so it just kind of means that you're kind of just hitting over and over again until your enemies are dead, and to me, it's just incredibly tedious and can get to the point where it's just not at all fun. Now, as for Brotherhood, a lot of people love this system, and I agree, it is incredibly fun because it's fast-paced, the combos make the combat flow and look so damn cool. You can use ranged weapons in combat now, including your throwing knives and your hidden gun, in conjunction with, you know, whether you just want to use it to just kill an enemy or whether you want to use it in a combo or a counter, you can now do that, and that's really cool. Plus, heavy weapons were introduced in this game, meaning that you can now use these huge axes and swords and maces and things like that you couldn't use in the previous games, which is, of course, always awesome. Some of the bad things, though, is that it is just far too easy. Once you get a combo going, there is no challenge, and you'll pretty much just never die. It's not exactly a possibility to die in Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, especially from combat. It's just simply too easy. Once you get that combo going, you're just going to take out all the enemies. And the worst case scenario with the combat system is you lose your streak, and all you have to do is get it started up again by getting 3 hits on an enemy. Like, it's not at all difficult, and it's one of the easiest combat systems in Assassin's Creed. Now, Revelations is pretty much identical to Brotherhood. The only difference is the Janissary guards in Assassin's Creed Revelations offer a little bit more challenge, but that's about it. That's about it. Now, moving on to Assassin's Creed 3, I found this combat system a lot more challenging. The guard archetypes are kind of going to challenge you, and you got to change your strategy based on the guard archetype, kind of similar to Assassin's Creed 1. However, in this game, you've got the scouts that you can't really break defense or attack. You have to wait until they attack you to be able to counter them. Then you've got the normal guards, which you can kind of do everything to. Then you've got the heavy guards, whose defense you kind of have to break in order to attack them. You can't counter them, and you can't attack them straight on or continue your combo onto them, which means you have to change up your strategy. You've then got the other ones like the captains and things, where you basically have to counter them and break their defense through the counter, and that's the only way you can get through to attack them. And it's good to be able to change your system for which guard you're fighting, because it means you kind of have to constantly be thinking about what you're doing, not just blindly attacking the enemy, and I like that. The combos were also cool. It meant once you got one successful kill, you can continue the chain onto all the enemies, killing them. It looks cool, and of course it flows really well, except some enemies you can't carry the chain onto, which is a good thing. It means it disrupts your chain, you have to change your flow, you have to change the way you fight, and that's always a good thing. Now, some of the cons we've got here is the combo system is just really strange in terms of your enemies don't have health bars. To finish and kill an enemy, you have to finish a combo, which means you have to finish this really long, tedious animation. You can't just hit them and that'll do damage to their health. You kind of have to finish this combo. If you just keep hitting them and doing the start of the combo over and over again, they won't die. You have to finish this weird combo string and animation in order to finish the enemy, which I just think is really, really strange and restricting. Another thing is there's not a huge variety of weapons to use in the game, not nearly as many as 2 through Revelations, which is a shame. There's also no grab or dodge system. You've only really got the counter, which allows you to disarm and throw, but it's only through the counter. You can't just throw them, you can't just disarm them. It has to be through a counter, and it just seems unnecessarily simplified. Now, to me, Assassin's Creed 4 is kind of like Revelations is to Brotherhood. It's very, very similar to Assassin's Creed 3, and the only difference for me is that it's even easier than Assassin's Creed 3, and it's near impossible to die. You just do, there's this move I do all the time. You'll see me when I'm live streaming playing AC4. You hit A on the Xbox or X on the PlayStation, and then he'll like kind of break them, throw them, and then you just hit them, and they're dead instantly. Just do that to every enemy. You can take out a crowd of 40 guards, possibly, in around about 30 seconds. Like, it's not all difficult. It's one of the easiest combat systems in Assassin's Creed, and just never go back to Assassin's Creed 4's combat. It's incredibly easy. There's not even difficult guard archetypes. You can just continue your combo onto every enemy. Like, it's not at all a difficult system. We won't be talking about Assassin's Creed Rogue, however, because this is essentially just a copy of Assassin's Creed 4's combat. It's the exact same thing, so we'll just move straight on to Unity. Now, for Assassin's Creed Unity, I think this is the closest they've ever gotten to a perfected combat system. It's challenging. You have the different guard archetypes you have to change up your strategy for, so you've got to dodge the guns, break the defense of the strong guards, and you've got to parry the weaker guards, and there's a huge choice of weapons in this game. And there's no insta-kill counter feature increasing the challenge, and killing enemies actually took skill. For the cons, however, you can only use one weapon at a time. You can use, there may be a wide variety, but you can only use a sword, an axe, or a spear at one time. You can't have multiple weapons, which I think is unnecessarily restricting. It's a very clunky system and was not at all perfected because it's very rough around the edges, which is a lot of what can be said for Assassin's Creed Unity. The guns are incredibly long range for the enemies, and they can pretty much hit you from halfway across the map, and there's no way of dodging them if you're outside of combat, which is not historically accurate at all. And it's not entirely welcoming to players since it's incredibly challenging, and it focuses more on the challenge than on, I think, fun. And I think there was definitely a perfection to be made there. It was definitely going in the right direction, but I don't think it was perfected to the point where it was the right system. But unfortunately, Syndicate just completely did away with it. So moving on to Syndicate, it's incredibly fast-paced and easy to grasp, and the combos do look nice. There's also the ability to dodge the ridiculously accurate guns in the game. However, this game has no variety in weapons. You've only got a choice of fists, staff, or fucking cookery knife. Like, it's just so restricting. The combos are incredibly tedious, like Assassin's Creed 3 and 4, and you have to sit through this stupid string of animations before you can kill an enemy. There's an insta-kill move you can unlock from the skill tree, meaning if you break someone's defense straight away, they lose their entire health bar and you can kill them instantly, which is just ridiculous. And there's an insta-kill counter move that returned in the game. The revolve was also there, allowing you to kill loads of enemies at once, and it also just looks ridiculous. The combat just looks silly, and I don't like it. Now, as for the things I'd like to return into Assassin's Creed Origins, I want to see counters that don't insta-kill, similar to the parry feature in Unity, or the counter system from Batman Arkham and Shadow of Mordor. I also want to have to change strategies for different enemies, so you can't just blindly attack everyone in the same way. You have to change what you do for various enemies. It always adds more of a challenge. I want a huge variety of weapons, so you can have a sword, a dagger, etc. at the same time, and variety of choice to choose from within those weapon types. I also want it to be fast-paced and nice flowing like the Batman games, not just this weird clunky system to make it challenging, but just have it look nice and fast-paced, as well as having to change up your style and think on the spot. I also want to have stun abilities like the way you can stun in, the Batman games and the Shadow of Mordor game. Kind of how you could kind of throw sand at people in Assassin's Creed 2 and Brotherhood, but maybe give it a different feature to have in the game to have a stun ability there. So thanks for watching this video. I do hope you enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts on the various combat systems in the comment section below. Let me know the features you want to see in the Origins combat system. I can't wait to see Origins in a few days. Like I said, I will be streaming the event. I can't wait to see what the game looks like. I can't wait to see some of the gameplay, what the combat looks like, all the various features in the game. It's going to be super interesting. But this is basically what I kind of thought of the various combat systems and things I'd like to see returning. Subscribe to stay up to date on all things Assassin's Creed related and video games in general. I'll be doing a bunch of content and, of course, like I said, streaming events, like I said, about 3 times in this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!